The owner of a struggling restaurant showed kindness by allowing a homeless man and his daughter to stay in the building while it was up for sale. But when he entered unexpectedly one day, he was stunned by what he saw. Daniel sat on a quiet sidewalk, waiting for his daughter to finish school. He avoided the main entrance, where other parents gathered, because he knew the looks they would give him: pity, judgment, or even disgust. They don't understand, he thought. If only they knew how hard I'm trying to rebuild our lives, maybe they wouldn't see me this way. Lost in thought, Daniel wrestled with his struggles. Maybe I need to push harder, look for more opportunities. There must be something I haven't tried yet. There has to be a way. Suddenly, a cheerful voice pulled him back to reality. "Dad, I'm here. You won't believe how much I have to tell you." Lily ran toward him, her face beaming with excitement. "I learned so much today. My teacher even said I was really smart." She chattered away, bubbling with enthusiasm. Daniel stood up, his expression softening with pride. "Tell me everything, sweetheart, but let's walk and talk. We don't want to be late for lunch," he said, taking her backpack as they started down the street together. As they walked, Lily eagerly shared the details of her day, her excitement carrying them all the way to a familiar alleyway beside a restaurant owned by Michael Oliver. They had come here often in recent weeks. This place had become a refuge amid their daily struggles. Michael, a middle-aged man with a serious demeanor, wasn't one to smile often, but he had a generous heart. Despite his stern appearance, he was always willing to help those in need. A small group of homeless individuals had already gathered near the alley, waiting for their daily meal. Many of them recognized Daniel and Lily, offering nods of acknowledgement. As they neared the back entrance, the rich aroma of hot food drifted from the kitchen. "Daniel! Lily! How are you today?" Michael called out, lifting a large pot onto a table. "You came just in time. I just finished refilling everything." "Thanks to you, Mr. Michael. You have no idea how much this means to us," Daniel said, gratitude clear in his voice. "I don't know what I'd do without your kindness." Michael waved off the thanks. "No need for that, Daniel. Every place should do this, but most people would rather waste food than help those in need." He handed them a food container with a grin. "I made something special today. If you don't like it, blame my daughter." Daniel and Lily laughed as they took their meal and found a spot to sit in the alley. Lily kept talking excitedly between bites, while Daniel savored the warm food in quiet appreciation. Just as they were finishing, Michael approached and sat beside Daniel. This wasn't unusual. Michael often chatted with them, but today, something felt different. He looked exhausted, his usual tough exterior softened by worry. Daniel noticed right away. "Michael, you look troubled. Is everything okay? Is it the restaurant? Or something with your daughter?" Michael hesitated before speaking, his voice heavy. "Daniel, things aren't going well. Business has dropped a lot these past few months, and I'm drowning in debt. If things don't turn around soon..." His words trailed off, leaving an unspoken fear hanging in the air. Michael's voice was heavy with despair as he finally admitted, "I'll have to close and sell the restaurant." Daniel sat in silence, absorbing the weight of those words. The restaurant wasn't just a place where he and Lily found meals. It was a symbol of kindness, a beacon of hope in their darkest times. "There has to be another way," Daniel insisted. "We can't just let this place go. It's been here for years. There must be something we can do to help." Michael let out a tired sigh, his shoulders slumping in resignation. "I've tried everything, Daniel. Discounts, promotions, nothing's bringing in more customers. With the economy the way it is, people just aren't eating out as much." Lily, who had been listening intently, suddenly chimed in. "Mr. Michael, you helped us when we needed it most. There must be a way we can give back. Maybe we can think of something new, something different to save the restaurant." Daniel nodded in agreement. "She's right. Maybe there's something we haven't thought of yet. We can try to bring attention to the place, find a way to get people talking about it." He had no clear plan, but his determination was evident. Michael managed a weak smile, touched by their willingness to help despite their own hardships. "Thank you, Daniel. It means a lot that you'd even think about helping me when you're going through so much yourself. But I just don't know how." Daniel's expression turned serious. "Michael, I know all too well what it's like to lose everything. That feeling of watching your world collapse, it's unbearable, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone." His voice held a quiet pain, his eyes reflecting memories he couldn't shake. Michael, moved by his words, looked at him curiously. "You've never really told me what happened. How did you end up in this situation?" Daniel hesitated for a moment before answering. "I worked in advertising. It was more than just a job. I loved it. Creativity, strategy. I was good at it. But then the company started struggling. Clients pulled out, budgets were slashed. We tried to hold on, but in the end, we had to shut down." He paused, remembering the day it all unraveled. "I was one of the last to be let go, hoping things might turn around. But they didn't." The memories were still vivid. The stunned silence in the office, the heartbreak in his colleagues' eyes as they packed up their lives. The weeks that followed were the hardest. I searched for work every single day, but nothing came up. Rent fell behind, our savings disappeared, and then the worst happened. We were evicted. Lily and I had nowhere to go. He stopped, his voice tight with emotion. The pain of that moment still felt fresh. One day, we had a home. The next, we were out on the streets. No plan, no idea how to protect my little girl. It was terrifying. Michael listened in silence, his heart heavy with the weight of Daniel's story. It was a stark reminder of how quickly life could change. "I'm so sorry, Daniel," he said sincerely. "Everything you've been through, and yet you're still standing. You still fight. That takes incredible strength." He exhaled deeply, shaking his head. "I just hope things turn around for both of us. We'll find a way. Somehow." Daniel gave him a grateful smile. "Thank you, Michael. You've already done so much for us. I may not have much, but if you ever need anything, you can count on me." A short while later, Daniel and Lily said their goodbyes and made their way back to the place they called home. Their shelter was nothing more than a tent set up beneath the overhang of an abandoned house. The gate to the house had always been open, an unspoken invitation, but Daniel never dared to enter. He respected the invisible boundary of an owner who might one day return. For now, the small backyard offered just enough protection from the wind and rain. The rest of the day passed without another meal, hunger gnawing at them as night fell. Inside the tent, Daniel wrapped an arm around his daughter as they lay down to sleep. The city's distant sounds hummed in the background, but within their fragile shelter, all that remained was the quiet rhythm of their breathing. Another night survived. Daniel lay on his back, staring at the fabric of the tent above him, lost in thought. "I have to find a way out of this for us. Sooner or later, a solution will come. I have to believe that." His mind refused to rest, turning over possibilities, desperate for a way to rebuild their lives. Beside him, Lily was already asleep, her breathing soft and steady. She was the reason he kept fighting. "She's all I have, and I am all she has. I can't give up, not for her." With that final thought, exhaustion finally pulled him into sleep. The night passed in quiet stillness until, in the early hours of the morning, a harsh, commanding voice shattered the silence. "You two, get out now! Move, or I'll tear this tent down myself. Do you hear me?" The sudden intrusion jolted both Daniel and Lily awake, their hearts racing. The voice carried authority and impatience, and fear gripped Daniel's chest. Lily, still groggy and disoriented, clutched his arm. "Dad, what's happening? Why are they shouting?" she whispered, her voice laced with confusion and fear. Daniel forced himself to stay calm for her sake. "Stay here, sweetheart. I'll see what's going on. Don't come out, okay?" His voice was steady, though his hands trembled. Stepping outside, Daniel was met with the sight of a police officer standing in front of their tent. A patrol car sat on the street, its red and blue lights flashing ominously. The officer's expression was firm, leaving no room for argument. "You're trespassing," the officer stated coldly. "And judging by the condition of the gate, it looks like you broke in." Daniel's heart pounded. This was bad. "Sir, we didn't break anything," he said quickly. "The gate was already open. The house is abandoned. We were just looking for shelter." His voice held desperation, but he tried to remain respectful. The officer, unimpressed, shook his head. "Doesn't matter. You can't stay here. Abandoned or not, this is private property. If you don't leave now, I'll have to arrest you and take the girl into protective custody." The words hit Daniel like a punch to the gut. He knew he had no choice. The thought of being separated from Lily, of leaving her alone in a system that wouldn't care for her the way he did, was unthinkable. Swallowing his pride, he bent down and peeked inside the tent. "Lily, we have to go now. Grab your backpack, okay? We'll find somewhere else to rest." He forced a smile, hoping she wouldn't hear the fear in his voice. Lily nodded sleepily and did as he asked. Together, they stepped away from the only shelter they had, their footsteps quiet against the pavement. As they passed the patrol car, Daniel felt the weight of the officer's gaze on his back. He resisted the overwhelming urge to run. The cold night wrapped around them as they walked aimlessly, no destination in mind. Daniel fought back the sting of tears, but Lily's small hand squeezed his tightly. "It's okay, Dad," she said softly. "Those bad men didn't hurt you, so it'll be okay." Her words, spoken with such innocent certainty, nearly broke him. He wanted to believe her, to share in her unwavering hope. But the fear of what came next was suffocating. "I have to be strong for her," he told himself. "No matter how lost I feel, I can't let her see it." As they disappeared into the darkness, leaving behind the only place they had to call home, Daniel blinked away his tears. "I can't cry. I have to keep moving. For her." And so, under the vast, indifferent sky, father and daughter walked on, searching for a place to belong. Daniel and Lily eventually found themselves in a small park, a quiet refuge where they could rest. Every step weighed heavily on Lily, her exhaustion visible as she fought against sleep. Seeing his daughter struggle, Daniel guided her toward a secluded bench. He gently settled her onto his lap, offering what little comfort he could in their uncertain situation. As her eyes fluttered closed, her small voice broke the silence. "Dad, I'm hungry. Is there anything to eat before morning? I don't really like the food at school," she murmured weakly. Her words pierced through Daniel like a dagger. The helplessness of not being able to feed his child was unbearable. "How can I protect you from the world if I can't even give you a meal?" The thought sliced through him, filling him with silent anguish. Pushing back the tears that threatened to fall, he gently stroked her hair. "I know, sweetheart. I know. But tomorrow at school, you'll have something to eat during recess. Just hold on a little longer, okay? Morning will be here soon." Lily's eyes, heavy with hunger and exhaustion, gazed up at her father. Despite everything, she smiled. "Okay, Dad. I love you so much, you know. I promise I'll grab some cookies for you," she whispered, before sleep finally claimed her. Alone in the quiet night, Daniel allowed his tears to fall. He cried in silence, each drop carrying the weight of his struggles and failures as a father. God, how long must I make her live like this? His heart clenched with pain and love, an ache deeper than words. Looking up at the vast night sky, he searched for a sign, any glimmer of hope. Please, give me the strength to change our fate. I'll do anything, take any opportunity. Just let me give her a better life. His whispered plea disappeared into the night, unheard by anyone but the stars. As the sun rose, their routine resumed. Daniel walked Lily to school, a small act that gave him a sense of purpose, a sliver of normalcy in their uncertain world. The morning dragged on, each moment filled with the same worry. What would happen next? When it was time to pick Lily up, Daniel was in his usual spot, waiting, his face calm despite the anxiety churning inside him. Hand in hand, father and daughter made their way toward Michael's restaurant, but as they approached, a sudden shock stopped Daniel in his tracks. A for sale sign was nailed to the restaurant's facade. His heart sank. The sight of it was like a punch to the gut, the harsh reality hitting him harder than he expected. No, this can't be happening. Michael wouldn't give up that easily. Because of him, my daughter eats more than once a day. I can't let this happen. Determined, Daniel pushed forward. When they reached the alley where food was distributed, his concern only grew stronger. "Michael," he called out, unable to contain his urgency. "What's going on with the sign? You're really selling the restaurant?" His voice carried disbelief. "I know you too well to believe you'd just give up like this." Michael sighed, his expression a mix of defeat and sadness. He looked at Daniel with weary eyes before answering. "I didn't have a choice, Daniel. The restaurant is drowning in debt. Keeping it open isn't possible anymore. Selling is the only option left." He paused, his voice heavy. "I'm sorry. For you. For everyone. But there's nothing more I can do." Daniel clenched his fists, frustration bubbling inside him. "But," Michael continued, "for this week, I promise you'll still have food. I have to travel, and while I'm gone, my daughter will handle things here. She'll make sure you're taken care of." A storm of emotions swirled inside Daniel. Fear of losing the only place where Lily could get food. Concern for Michael and what would happen to him. The overwhelming sense that everything was slipping further away. What if we lose this place? What if things get even worse? The thoughts crashed over him, one after another, threatening to drown him in despair. Then, like a light cutting through the darkness, a sudden realization struck him. His experience in advertising, the skills he once used every day, now buried under the weight of survival. Could that be the answer? "I know how to bring in customers. I know how to make a business stand out. This could work." A new determination replaced his fear. Looking at Michael with intensity, Daniel made his proposal. "Michael, listen to me. I have an idea. Give me this week. Let me use my advertising skills to bring more customers to the restaurant." His voice was firm, filled with hope. "In return, my daughter and I will sleep in the storage room. Just a safe place to stay at night. That's all we need." Michael's expression shifted from surprise to deep contemplation. The restaurant was already at the edge of collapse, and selling felt like the only way out. But Daniel's words, they were unexpected, a spark of hope where there had been none. For the first time in a long while, something other than resignation flickered in Michael's eyes. Daniel held his breath, waiting for an answer. Michael nodded, his expression cautious but hopeful. "All right, Daniel, it's a deal. You have 1 week. If you can bring in more customers and prove there's still a chance for this place, I'll reconsider selling." His decision was a gamble, but in it, Daniel saw a glimmer of trust. Relief and determination flooded him. He had an opportunity, a chance to not only save the restaurant, but also secure a safe place for Lily, even if just for a little while. "Thank you, Michael. I promise I'll do everything I can to make this work. You won't regret it," Daniel said, his voice firm with conviction. For the first time in a while, he felt a sense of peace. That evening, as the sun began to set, Daniel and Lily returned to the restaurant. The storage room door was already open, and inside, they found a young woman arranging a mattress among the stacked boxes. A simple yet thoughtful gesture that turned the small space into something more than just storage. "Good evening," Daniel greeted, his voice carrying through the room. "I hope we're not disturbing you. You must be Michael's daughter?" The woman turned, slightly surprised, but her face quickly softened into a warm smile. "You must be Daniel," she said, stepping forward with a friendly expression. "I'm Emma, Michael's daughter, and this must be Lily, right? What a beautiful girl." Her voice was gentle as she bent down to meet Lily's curious gaze. Emma motioned for them to come inside. "Please, make yourselves comfortable. I prepared some hot soup for you. I figured you both might be hungry. Just sit tight, and I'll bring it over." Before they could respond, she disappeared for a moment and soon returned, setting down bowls of steaming soup. The three of them sat on overturned boxes, sharing the simple meal together. The rich aroma filled the air, and for the first time in a long while, Daniel and Lily ate without worry. Between bites, Daniel glanced at Emma. "Your father mentioned he was traveling. Did he leave today? I thought he'd still be here when we got back." Emma nodded. "Yeah, he had to leave earlier than expected, but he left everything in my hands. He trusts me to keep things running, and that gives me confidence." Daniel smiled. "You seem to have his intelligence and kindness. I'm sure you'll do a great job." Emma returned his smile, a bit shyly. "Thank you." Daniel took another spoonful of soup and then looked up again. "By the way, this is amazing. You must have inherited your father's cooking skills. Do you like to cook?" Emma's face lit up with a glow of passion. "I do enjoy cooking, but it's not what I want to do forever. My dream has always been music. Cooking speaks to the soul, but music, it speaks to the heart." Daniel listened attentively, intrigued by the depth of her words. Music has that power, doesn't it? It connects us to something bigger, something beyond words. I've always loved music too. I used to play piano, guitar, even a little violin. Lily, who had been quietly observing, glanced between her father and Emma. She had never seen her father this engaged in a conversation, his face relaxed, even happy. It was a rare sight, one she hadn't witnessed in a long time. She watched the warmth in his smile, the way he spoke easily with Emma. The moment felt different. After a brief pause, Lily finally spoke with the innocence only a child could have. "Daddy, Emma would make a great mommy, don't you think?" Daniel froze, his face instantly flushing with embarrassment. He opened his mouth, then closed it, at a complete loss for words. "Lily, oh my goodness, He let out a nervous chuckle, running a hand over his face. "Emma, I'm so sorry. She's just a child. You know how kids are." Emma, to his surprise, simply laughed. Her cheeks were a little pink, but there was genuine amusement in her expression. "Don't worry, Daniel. She's adorable." Then, with a softness in her voice, she added, "She must really miss having a mother." Her words carried warmth, but also understanding. That brief moment of embarrassment didn't dampen the atmosphere. Instead, it added a touch of familiarity, a kind of closeness that none of them had expected. The conversation continued effortlessly, stretching into the evening until finally, Emma decided to leave them to rest. After saying their goodbyes, Daniel and Lily settled onto the mattress in the quiet storage room. The space, though small and bare, now held a sense of comfort. As they lay down, The echoes of the night's laughter and conversations still lingered in Daniel's mind. But just as he was drifting off, Lily's small voice cut through the silence. "Dad, I saw how you looked at Emma." Daniel turned his head, raising a brow. "What?" Lily smirked knowingly. "You like her, don't you? You looked all silly." Daniel let out a surprised laugh. "Lily, it's time to sleep. No more talking for today." Lily giggled, rolling over and closing her eyes, but the mischief in her smile remained. Daniel shook his head, a soft chuckle escaping his lips. He hadn't expected any of this. Not the opportunity to save the restaurant. Not the moment of peace in the middle of his struggles. And certainly not the warmth that Emma had brought into their evening. As he closed his eyes, he allowed himself, for the first time in a long while, to feel a glimmer of hope. "I'm tired," Daniel murmured, though he couldn't help but feel warmth from Lily's words. Lily giggled, eyes twinkling with mischief. "She liked you too, Dad. I could tell. She was all silly around you." Her confident innocence left Daniel momentarily stunned. He watched as she closed her eyes, a satisfied smile settling on her lips as she drifted off to sleep. Alone with his thoughts, Daniel found himself pondering what Lily had said. Could it be true? Did Emma feel something for me? Or is it just Lily's imagination running wild? He shook his head. She's just a child. She sees things through a hopeful lens. Yet, despite dismissing the thought, a small part of him couldn't shake the feeling. He had felt something around Emma, a connection, but given their circumstances, any mutual feelings seemed impossible. His mind wrestled with these questions until exhaustion finally pulled him into sleep. The next morning, Emma greeted them with her usual energy, serving breakfast, a simple but thoughtful gesture that went beyond kindness. As Daniel and Lily enjoyed the meal, Emma turned to Daniel with curiosity. "So, have you thought about what you're going to do to help the restaurant? My father mentioned you're good at advertising, and I know you must have some ideas." Her question carried genuine interest and a glimmer of hope. Daniel chewed thoughtfully before replying. "I have some ideas, but I need to take a good look around first. Maybe then, inspiration will strike. The right kind of marketing is key. It has to grab attention and draw people in." Understanding his need for space and time to work, Emma offered, "I can take Lily to school for you. That way, you'll have more time to focus." Her offer wasn't just a gesture of kindness. It was a sign of trust. Daniel smiled gratefully. "That would be great. Thank you, Emma. I promise, all the help you've given us won't go to waste. Just like your father's trust in me won't be either." Once Emma and Lily left, Daniel stepped through the storage room into the kitchen and then into the restaurant's main space. Rows of empty tables stood in silence, waiting for customers who never came. The stillness of the place might have felt discouraging to others, but to Daniel, it was filled with potential. His eyes scanned the space until they landed on a chalkboard sign near the entrance, the welcoming sign for customers. A spark of inspiration flickered in his mind. By the time Emma returned, Daniel was waiting for her, excitement bubbling beneath his calm exterior. Sitting on one of the storage boxes, he could barely contain his anticipation as he shared his vision. What if we use the entrance sign to announce something unique? Something that makes people curious enough to step inside and see what's going on. Emma listened attentively, drawn in by his enthusiasm. We could advertise special dishes, promotions, or even themed nights, something that changes regularly so people keep coming back to see what's new, Daniel continued, his passion for advertising shining through. Emma's face lit up with the excitement of possibility, but she remained practical. It's a great idea, Daniel, but we have to be mindful of the restaurant's current financial situation. We can't afford anything that requires too much extra expense. Daniel nodded in understanding. She was right. Any plan had to be both simple and effective. He closed his eyes for a moment, allowing his mind to sift through creative solutions. Then, an idea struck. What if we add an interactive element, like a game? He leaned forward, his excitement growing. For example, customers could order a mystery dish, something completely random from the menu. But before eating, the idea was just beginning to take shape, and Daniel could already see the potential. They would have to guess the name of the dish, Daniel explained, his excitement growing. If they get it right, they get the meal and a drink for free. Emma's initial hesitation quickly melted into enthusiasm. The idea was simple yet clever, something that could truly engage customers. "That's brilliant, Daniel," she exclaimed. "It's fun, interactive, and doesn't require a huge investment. Plus, it makes dining here an experience, not just a meal." Her admiration for Daniel's creativity was clear. Without thinking, she stepped forward and hugged him in a burst of excitement. The unexpected closeness caught Daniel off guard, and he felt his face heat up. Though surprised, he found himself returning the hug, a mix of shyness and joy coloring his expression. As they stepped back, both wore small, bashful smiles. The air between them felt subtly different, but Daniel cleared his throat, refocusing on their plan. "All right, let's get to work. We need to spread the word. Maybe we can come up with other fun games or themed events too. Something different every day to keep people coming back." Emma nodded, inspired by his determination. "Yes, let's do it. And I have some ideas too. Things that won't cost much, but could really help." They continued brainstorming, bouncing ideas off each other, and for the first time in a long while, hope filled the space around them. With a clear plan in mind, Emma took the initiative to set things in motion. She grabbed the chalkboard near the entrance and, in neat, inviting handwriting, wrote, "Order a mystery dish. Guess its name and get your meal for free." Placing the sign outside was a moment filled with both excitement and nervousness. It was a gamble, one that relied on curiosity and creativity to draw people in. As the restaurant opened, Emma busied herself in the kitchen, washing the few dishes left from the previous day and keeping herself occupied. But as she worked, doubts crept in. Will anyone be interested? What if people don't want to take the risk? Just because an idea sounds good doesn't mean it will work? She tried to push away her uncertainty, focusing instead on the hope that this could be the breakthrough they needed. Then, the sound of the bell at the door broke through her thoughts. Her heart jumped. Quickly drying her hands on her apron, she walked out to greet the first customer. A man stood near the entrance, his expression a mix of curiosity and amusement as he pointed at the sign. "I saw the promotion outside. How does it work? Do you really get to eat for free?" His voice carried intrigue and a slight challenge. Emma smiled, her nervousness fading as she explained, "You order a random dish from our menu, and I'll prepare it for you. Before you taste it, you have to guess the name of the dish. If you guess correctly, your meal and drink are free." Her excitement was infectious, her eyes shining with the possibility that this could be the start of something big. The customer chuckled, clearly entertained by the concept. "That's an interesting challenge. All right, I'm in. Let's see how good my guessing skills are." He took a seat at one of the tables. "I'll take a mystery dish, please." Emma almost couldn't believe it. She nodded quickly and rushed back to the kitchen, a new energy surging through her. This might actually work, she thought, allowing herself to feel a flicker of optimism as she began preparing the dish. Meanwhile, back in the storage room, Daniel spent the morning in a state of restless anticipation. He alternated between reviewing his ideas and peeking through the kitchen door, hoping for some kind of news. But as time passed, worry crept in. What if no one is interested? What if it's a complete failure? Shaking his head, he pushed the doubts away. "No, I can't think like that. I have to stay positive. It's just a matter of time." He took a deep breath and waited, hoping that Emma's silence meant she was too busy with customers to check in. And so, he waited, holding onto the hope that their plan was working. Daniel had to leave to pick up Lily from school, but when he returned, his initial worry quickly turned into curiosity. Emma was outside, busy with her routine of distributing food to the homeless in the alley. The moment she spotted them, her face lit up with excitement. "You won't believe what happened," she exclaimed, rushing toward them. "The idea is working. We had more customers today than usual. Daniel, you're really making a difference. You're brilliant." Her joy was infectious, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Daniel let out a genuine laugh, relief washing over him. "Really? That's incredible. You have no idea how much of a weight that lifts off my shoulders." To make things even better, Emma shared another piece of news. Only 4 customers had successfully guessed their dishes. This meant that not only had the idea drawn in new customers, but the restaurant was also making a profit. Still, Daniel knew they couldn't afford to slow down. "This is great news, but we can't stop here. We need to keep coming up with new ideas, fresh ways to keep people interested." He paused, his mind already working. "While I was in the storage room, I thought of another challenge. What if we do the same thing with drinks? Customers could order a mystery juice and try to guess the flavors. If they get it right, they can have unlimited refills." Emma, still riding the wave of success, immediately loved the idea. "That's brilliant. I've noticed that people, especially younger customers, love challenges. This could really work." The next day, a new chalkboard sign appeared outside the restaurant. "Try a mystery juice. Guess the flavors and drink as much as you want." Hopes were high, but as the day unfolded, Emma noticed something. While the idea did attract customers, the increase wasn't as dramatic as the previous day. The restaurant had a steady stream of visitors. But as the hours passed, the excitement didn't build the way it had before. By the end of the day, Emma found Daniel in the storage room, concern etched on his face. "The juice challenge was a good idea," she admitted, "but it didn't bring in as many people as we'd hoped. We need something that really sets us apart. Something eye-catching, something that makes people want to come here." Her voice carried both urgency and frustration. The pressure of saving the restaurant weighed heavily on them both. Daniel listened carefully, deep in thought. Then, a memory surfaced. Something Emma had mentioned before. "You love music, right?" he asked. "Do you play any instruments? Have you ever performed in front of an audience?" Emma blinked, caught off guard by the sudden change in topic. "I do. I play a little guitar and I sing, but only for myself and my dad. I've never performed in front of a crowd." "Why?" Daniel grinned, but said nothing, letting the idea settle between them. Emma's eyes widened as she realized what he was suggesting. She immediately recoiled. "Wait, you're not saying I should perform, are you?" She shook her head. "Daniel, I don't know if I can. It's a good idea, but what if I get too nervous and mess up?" Daniel saw the hesitation in her eyes. The thought of singing in public clearly terrified her. He softened his tone. "How about this? Just start by singing for me and Lily. Think of it as a rehearsal. If you can do that, then performing in the restaurant won't feel so scary." Emma hesitated, torn between fear and the desire to try. "But what if I sing off key? I'm not a professional. I've never been trained. I don't even know if I'm good enough." Daniel shook his head. "Emma, we believe in you. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be you. No matter what happens, we'll support you." Lily, who had been listening quietly, chimed in with a bright smile. "Please, Emma, I really want to hear you sing. I bet you sound like a princess, like in the movies." Her innocent enthusiasm was the final push Emma needed. After a deep breath, she finally gave in. "All right, I'll try, but I'm not making any promises." That night, the storage room transformed into an intimate stage. Sitting on overturned crates, Daniel strummed the guitar while Emma took a deep breath, gathering her courage. Then, with a voice both sweet and powerful, she began to sing. Her voice filled the small space, effortlessly carrying emotion in every note. Daniel, mesmerized, felt something stir deep within him. It wasn't just admiration, it was something more profound, something he hadn't expected. Watching Emma sing, he felt an undeniable warmth, a connection that went beyond words. Emma, too, found herself lost in the moment. The way Daniel's fingers moved across the guitar, coaxing out beautiful melodies, felt almost magical. It dawned on her then. Her love for music was real, but what truly made this moment special wasn't just the music, it was him. As the final note faded into silence, Emma's face lit up with exhilaration. The fear she had carried melted away, replaced by excitement. "Thank you both," she said, her voice trembling with happiness. "Now I know I can do this. I will do this. Let's bring music to the restaurant." The next morning, a new energy pulsed through the air. Outside the restaurant, a freshly written chalkboard sign announced the latest attraction: Live Music Night. Guess the song and win a free dessert. It was an unusual concept for a neighborhood restaurant, but that's exactly what made it so intriguing. People walking by stopped to read the sign, their curiosity piqued. Inside, Daniel worked tirelessly to create a small stage using wooden crates and string lights, crafting a warm and inviting performance space for Emma. The simplicity of it only added to its charm. Dressed in an apron Emma had given him, Daniel took on the roles of both cook and server, proving to be a surprisingly skilled chef. Meanwhile, little Lily, eager to help, moved around the kitchen with serious dedication, handing over ingredients, collecting plates, and making sure everything ran smoothly. As the afternoon turned into evening, the restaurant steadily filled with customers. They weren't just there for the food, they were drawn in by the promise of something different, an experience. When Emma took the makeshift stage, all eyes turned to her. With a deep breath, she began to sing. Her voice, filled with emotion and confidence, cast a spell over the restaurant. Applause broke out after every song, and customers eagerly took part in the challenge, attempting to guess the song titles to win their dessert. While Daniel was busy managing the kitchen, he couldn't help but steal glances at Emma whenever he passed by. Each time their eyes met, an unspoken connection lingered between them, subtle yet undeniable. Lily, ever observant, noticed and giggled. "Daddy, you have that silly smile again," she teased. "I still think Emma would make a great mommy." Daniel, caught off guard, quickly busied himself with the dishes. "All right, let's focus on work now, Lily," he said, trying to hide his flustered expression. That night wasn't just about keeping the restaurant alive, it was about something deeper. It was about rediscovering hope. As the days passed, the restaurant only grew in popularity. Word spread quickly, and soon, it wasn't just locals coming in. People from other parts of town started visiting, drawn by the unique combination of great food and live music. And then, one day, Michael returned. As he approached, his eyes widened in disbelief. The once empty restaurant was now bustling with people. The sound of Emma's voice, singing to an enraptured audience, blended with the lively chatter of satisfied customers. The for sale sign that had once hung outside was gone. Stepping inside, Michael was even more stunned. There was Daniel, effortlessly moving between tables, serving food with the grace of a professional waiter. He looked happier, lighter, than Michael had ever seen him. Sensing his presence, Daniel turned, a broad smile spreading across his face. "Welcome back, Michael. How was your trip? I hope it wasn't too exhausting." Michael let out a breath, emotion tightening in his throat. Taking in the scene before him, he felt something he hadn't in a long time. Joy. "You did it," he murmured, his voice thick with gratitude. "You saved my restaurant." For the first time in years, tears welled in Michael's eyes, not from sorrow, but from overwhelming happiness. "You have no idea what this means to me, Daniel," he continued. "I owe you everything." Daniel simply smiled. "You gave me and Lily a place to stay when we had nowhere else to go. You don't owe me anything, Michael. This is just the beginning." And for the first time in a long, long time, Michael believed that was true. Michael wiped his eyes and let out a deep breath before snapping back to his usual serious demeanor. "All right, that's enough talking and crying. We've got work to do. Let's get back to it," he declared, stepping into the restaurant with renewed energy. Working alongside Daniel, their teamwork flowed seamlessly, as if they had been a well-oiled team for years. But this wasn't just about saving a business anymore. Something much deeper had formed between them. A new kind of family had emerged, not bound by blood, but by resilience, shared effort, and above all, the power of music. Michael's restaurant had transformed from a struggling eatery into a vibrant gathering place, proving that even in the darkest times, hope and creativity could pave the way to something beautiful. At the end of another busy night, the restaurant finally fell into a quiet lull. It was then that Michael called Daniel aside for a private conversation in the storage room. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Emma and Lily sat together, enjoying the last bites of a shared dessert. With gratitude evident in his eyes, Michael wasted no time expressing his feelings. "Daniel, I don't even know how to thank you. You have no idea what this means to me and Emma. It wasn't just her up there performing, it was you, too. You put on a show in your own way." Daniel, always humble, shook his head. "It wasn't just me, Michael. With a little creativity and teamwork, especially Emma's, we found a way forward. I couldn't have done it alone." Michael smiled at Daniel's words, nodding in agreement. "Say what you will, but you can't deny how well you handled things tonight. You served the customers like a pro, and they were more than satisfied with the food. You've proven yourself to be one heck of a waiter, and a great cook too." Then, suddenly, Michael's tone shifted. His gaze turned sharp, and his voice carried a hint of amusement. "But let me ask you this. Do you think you'll be as good a son-in-law as you are a worker?" He leaned in slightly, a knowing grin on his face. "Or did you really think I wouldn't notice all those little smiles you and Emma kept exchanging?" Daniel's face turned a deep shade of red. He opened his mouth, but words failed him. The idea that Michael had been observant enough to catch on to his feelings for Emma left him completely speechless. I don't know what to say," he stammered, before letting out an awkward laugh, rubbing the back of his neck. But Michael had seen enough. The truth was already written all over Daniel's face, and as it turned out, his instincts were right. Not long after Michael's return, Daniel found the courage to propose to Emma. Her answer was obvious to everyone, especially to Lily, who had already been rooting for them from the start. Just 2 months later, they celebrated their wedding. During that time, Daniel fully joined the restaurant team, working side by side with Emma. Together, they didn't just keep the restaurant afloat, they built something even greater. Their shared passion and commitment helped them save enough money to purchase a house, finally giving Lily the stable home she had longed for. And soon, their little family grew even more. Emma and Daniel announced that a new baby was on the way. For them, this moment meant more than just welcoming a new life. It was a symbol of everything they had overcome. It was proof that love, resilience, and faith in each other could turn even the most difficult times into something extraordinary. As the years passed, Michael's restaurant didn't just remain a beloved community spot. It expanded, growing into a successful franchise throughout the city. Daniel's creative marketing ideas, Michael's unwavering dedication, and Emma's heartfelt performances turned the restaurant into a symbol of perseverance, reinvention, and success. Their story was no longer just about survival. It was about transformation, about proving that with love and determination, anything was possible. The struggles they once faced became nothing more than stepping stones toward a life filled with joy, purpose, and unwavering support for one another. Every challenge was no longer an obstacle. It was an opportunity to grow stronger together. Their legacy, filled with music, unforgettable meals, and boundless love, became an inspiration to all who walked through the restaurant's doors. A reminder that even in the toughest moments, hope, unity, and a little bit of faith can turn dreams into reality. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support fuels our passion for sharing incredible stories like this one. Stay tuned, because another unforgettable tale is just around the corner. See you soon.